What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're here for a brand new Madden 26 rebuild of a team that's down bad more than any team in the NFL. And I feel like for a team that's very good and for a team that generally tends to be very good in Madden, this may be the best time to make Bengal fans feel decent. The Cincinnati Bengals started 2-0. The offense looks, well, it's the offense. The defense has looked promising. However, the offensive line on the offense is kind of the same old offensive line, and Turf Toe has struck in one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best players overall in the NFL. Word on the street, Joe Burrow is set to be out for 3 months, and for this rebuild, we are going to do exactly that. We're going to start at 2-0. We're going to have him go on IR for the time being, and he will return, at least according to the internet, a mid-December return. So that would put us right around here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have Joe Burrow return week 16 against the Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns. I'm going to be honest. If you're the Bengals, you're hanging on for a playoff spot at that time, you know, there's always the rumor and the worry. So word on the street is December is when Joe Burrow will return. We'll go on the little bit more of a challenging side and assume that it'll be that mid-December time frame, which will be Miami, Arizona, and the Cleveland Browns to kind of wrap up the season. So the 2-0 start, if they somehow can hold on, this is going to be like, you know, a lot of times with an injury like that, there's a lot of times where, like, you can rush a player back from injury, but is it worth rushing them back? Is there really any point salvaging the season? Kind of think of, like, the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. I think for this case with the Bengals, you already get a 2-0 start. If you can get Joe Burrow back, those are 3 incredibly favorable matchups, we should say. Maybe, the Cardinals look like they could be a playoff contender in the NFC right now, but Dolphins might be the worst team in the NFL. Browns aren't fine behind it, so if you can get, at least in the discussion, to still be in contention for the wild card spot, yes, you rush Joe Burrow back because he, odds would say, can go 3-0 to end the season and get this team into the playoffs. But keep it realistic, I'm pretty sure Sean Clifford is a player that they signed to add depth to their quarterback room, which probably is not the best option. I know a lot of Bengal fans think maybe like a Kirk Cousins trade could help them out this year. So here's how our team is going to line up. We're going to go with Jake Browning as the starter. Many forget, man, back in college, Jake Browning at Washington was like a legitimate quarterback prospect and certainly in the discussion for backup quarterbacks around the league that he's, I don't necessarily know if I want to like put him in a top 10. I'll throw him in that discussion, a top 10 quarterback. He is more than capable enough with the weapons on this Bengals offense. If those weapons can stay healthy, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, I think he could be effective. Obviously, you're not going to have anywhere near the same ceiling and upside of a team as if you had Joe Burrow in there. But I think there's enough with the 2-0 start that like Jake Browning can steadily, win the games you're supposed to win. Maybe you probably won't be able to get those upsets that you may get with Joe Burrow or those big-time games against other playoff caliber teams in the AFC. But as long as he does not tank the season, you get Burrow with the 3 games remaining, you still could salvage it. But if we can't salvage it, that's another reason why I have pushed the Bengals up the list for a rebuild, because there's still plenty of work that needs to be done. Looking at the team here, I love Chase Brown at running back. As a Canadian, the more Canadians that start, the more Canadians that are on full display in the skill position format. I'm a big fan, so we are going to try our best to develop Chase Brown. We obviously don't need to go a whole lot of depth into the weapons here. Jamar Chase, 99 X Factor. T. Higgins, 87 Superstar. Even then, you got, like, great depth. Yosevas is a stud. Tinsley, the preseason standout, is also there. But when we talk about these guys, really the reality is not necessarily breaking down how good they are. We know how good they are. We know how good they are, especially in Madden. But it's the challenge that they bring because they both got paid in the offseason. So salary cap is particularly tight here with the Bengals, and it's incredibly one-sided to the offensive side of the ball. So I think from a roster construction standpoint, this is going to have to be a rebuild. We have to have cheap offensive linemen, and we're going to have cheap starter caliber defensive players across the board. Continuing with just the offense here, tight end room has some nice depth. I think I'm actually recording this on the brand new Madden title update. I feel like all these players got brand new picture cards. But looking at the offensive line, well, I'm going to hope that we can continue to develop Amarius Mims. Fairchild looks like an absolute value pick. the rookie out of Georgia. He should be a starter long term. But right guard, center, and really, even though like Orlando Brown's solid for the time being, if we really want to consider this offensive line and understand that we have got to protect Joe Burrow, we're likely going to have to need at least 2, if not 3 offensive linemen, and more so in Orlando Brown's case is going to be dealing with the salary cap and how much money we really should be investing on the offensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball, we know the Bengals defense is pretty much a meme in real life. I think the preseason and how last year went kind of fueled that, but I think for the 2-0 start this year in real life, they've been certainly not a liability. But as far as Madden is concerned, it's a pretty good Madden defense. You have Cam Taylor-Britt, right side of 25. DJ Turner, right side of 25. Dax Hill, right side of 25. Geno Stone, 26. Battle, 24. Like, these are, and I would like to assume their contracts are going to be reasonable. Like, all 5 of these guys could absolutely be our long-term, when this team is ready to go compete for a Super Bowl type DBs. Like, I might not have to draft any defensive backs in this rebuild. At linebacker, you got Oren Burks coming over from my Philadelphia Eagles. Burks, yeah, well, he started in a Super Bowl, really, and in the playoffs. No, I actually think they kind of dogged him a little bit on a 71 rating. He was very good for us. I was very annoyed that we let him walk. You got Wilson, who's a proven stud now, more on the decline a little bit. Barrett Carter from Clemson's interesting, and you get Demetrius Knight Jr., the rookie from South Carolina. Now, he's an old-ass rookie at 25, but I get why they do this. Because the Bengals, with how their roster is constructed, you need rookie starters that can come in and contribute. And you know what is, a common trait amongst a lot of maybe not necessarily first, second round picks that can come in and start is like they're on the older side because they are fully grown and they're going to be able to adapt to the NFL quicker than drafting like a 21-year-old that's going to need maybe that full year on a strength and conditioning program. So Knight is going to be a stud for us. On the defensive line, you got Chris Jenkins Jr. We need him to develop on that rookie contract. That was a considerable investment in terms of draft resource. We have Trey Hendrickson. Now, this is where, like, do we kind of play this realistic, where it's unlikely he returns? Or do we say, screw it, let's try and figure out a way to get him signed long-term? One of the best pure pass rushers in the NFL, an awesome player, an ugly contract situation all offseason long, ended up getting a 1-year deal. But we are certainly got to decide what the future of him as a Bengal holds in this rebuild early in year 1. Lastly, the big ticket here is the first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, who is one of the biggest freak of nature talents that we've seen in quite some time. 6'5", almost 270 pounds, 77 with a dev trait, 86 speed, 91 acceleration, 87 strength, 86 agility. He is just the type of athlete that only comes around once in a while, and I think that's why the Bengals is like, this guy right now, as a run defender, is going to be a plus run defender as a rookie, as a starter. And if he can kind of slowly develop a pass rush moveset, he could be sky's the limit type pass rusher on that rookie contract that the Bengals need from a salary cap standpoint. And I will say, I've done enough already in Madden 26 rebuilds to know that Shamar Stewart tends to be one of the best young players in franchise mode, and I need that to be the case here today in our rebuild. So, let's get through the opening part of the season with Jake Browning at quarterback off the 2-0 start, and let's see, at about mid-season, can we still be competing? Can we still be competitive? Well, the bummer is our first game with no Joe Burrow. We lose to the Vikings. That's going to be a tough matchup, right? Going up against a Brian Flores defense. Vikings defensively present incredibly unique opportunities. Now, obviously, in real life, there's a chance with Carson Wentz starting for the Vikings, like Jake Browning can sneak one out, but I think the tiebreaker in that matchup with 2 backup quarterbacks is going to be that Vikings defense. But at least if the question is, with Jake Browning at quarterback, is the offense still going to be potentially elite? Well, Jamar Chase with almost 200 yards and a hat trick of touchdowns gives us confidence that that will be the case. All right, so we did beat the Denver Broncos, and now we're getting in some pretty tough games, and we lose to the Detroit Lions. We lose to the Green Bay Packers, but again, in defeat, it's not like it's because the offenses fell off a complete cliff, as Jamar Chase gets his second Offensive Player of the Week award with Jake Browning at quarterback. So at midseason, 3-4, 1-4 with Jake Browning at quarterback, knowing as well you got Detroit, Green Bay, if not playoff contenders, fringe playoff contenders with the Steelers and the Broncos as well. I think that's certainly realistic. Taking a look at our contracts, we actually have a surprising $80 million of salary cap, which is a lot better than I would have expected. But we're going to have to be pretty smart here with how we want to handle our money because of the commitments already. So I'm thinking Cam Taylor-Britt's getting a contract. We got to get him locked in long term. So we'll get him on a 4-year deal. Man, the question with Trey Hendrickson is, do we kind of, like, in real life, I have no idea. I think him kind of going back on a 1-year deal, maybe the bridges aren't burned and a long-term extension could be reached. Or are the bridges totally burned and he just wanted, like, I'll play 1 more year and then I'm done. Get me away from this team. I think, here's going to be my argument. Here's what we're going to do. I think for the sake of adding challenge to a rebuild that, if Joe Burrow wasn't hurt, Cincinnati would probably be near the bottom of the list because not only, what we know they are in real life, but in Madden, they tend to be one of the better teams in Madden. I think to embrace the challenge, we will have a very unhappy Trey Hendrickson and act like that re-sign interest is in the red, and there is no potential way to rebuild and mend that bridge. He is gone after this season. But as I mentioned on the team preview, I want to try to keep all these DBs together. So we got Geno Stone coming back on a very reasonable 3-year deal to lock him in for the rest of his prime. It's kind of fun. We lose to the Jets right after those contracts. Decide not to bring back Hendrickson. And the next week, he literally gets Defensive Player of the Week with 4 sacks. We're going to bring back Dax Hill as well. Bring some great versatility. Can play corner, can play safety, can play nickel. I'm going to keep him ideally as our nickel for the next 5 seasons at about $7 million a year. Good news is at least we're able to fast forward to when Joe Burrow can return. The bad news is, yeah, even if we went out at 4-10, Jake Browning and company only being able to get 2 wins. Yeah, 7 wins is not going to get us in. At best, we can be the 9 seed and, finish the regular season admirably, which I think we got to do. Jake Browning goes for about 2,800 yards, 16 touchdowns, 14 picks. Yeah. In Joe Burrow's first game back, we beat the Dolphins 38-35, and he's literally 3 games played, 3 offensive player of the weeks. Week 16, week 1, and week 2. Wow. So, Joe Burrow, we lose against the Cardinals, and we kind of mentioned those final 3 games. They might be the tricky one as a fringe playoff team, but in every game Joe Burrow has won this year, he has got Offensive Player of the Week. He has played in 5 games, 4 of the 5, he's been the best player in the league. So, very optimistic for next year, going into year 2. The good news is at 6-11, we are going to probably have a somewhat decent draft pick. Top teams there, 13-4, but the old Bengals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just outside of a top 5 pick. We already know what Jake Browning's numbers were, but this is kind of insane. In 5 starts, Joe Burrow, 1,700 yards, 15 touchdowns, 1 pick, averaging 350 yards a game. That is insane, and what he could do in a full 17-game slate could be game-breaking. Our Madden 25 Bengal rebuilds were pretty game-breaking. But you know what stands out more than these numbers? In 5 games, he got sacked 19 times. That is not good enough. So with that number 6 pick, as much as it makes sense, maybe to, if we can get a pass rusher to replace Trey Hendrickson, that's what we got to do. I think if we can get a lineman, and best player available is a lineman, we may need to strike there. Now, because our passing offense was so potent, Chase Brown's numbers are always going to be a little on the downside. Obviously, in real life, you'd assume with no Joe Burrow, Chase Brown's got to step up, and I think he's more than talented to do so. But 571-yard rushing in 17 games is pretty bad. At least he did get double-digit rushing touchdowns. For receiving, yeah. Offense goes through these boys. Jamar Chase leading a receiver in the NFL. We have T. Higgins also eating 87 catches, 1,200 yards, in 11 touchdowns. Burt was solid. Gesicki was solid. Another position, though, at tight end, we had Noah Fant on a rental. Gesicki, I know he got a contract extension last year, but he's at his ceiling, starting to regress. Tight end will be a position. If we can get a mid-round pick over the next draft or so, that could be a very nice selection. Now, this is my first rebuild on the Madden title update that dropped this morning, September 17th. And maybe it was just our offense was so bad when Browning is in, but those are way higher tackle numbers than I have seen in the sim for the first month of the game being out. So that'll be something to take note of. It feels like I'm playing on the modded franchise mode from last year where the tackle numbers were maybe a little bit more reflective of where they are in real life. Trey Hendrickson in his final year as a Bengal, 14 TFLs, led the team with 11 sacks, also snuck a pick in there. 7.5 sacks on 12 TFLs for Chris Jenkins is sick for a guy that, pretty disappointing rookie campaign, high expectations. That is reliable. And then Shamar Stewart for a project player, 9 TFLs, 7 sacks on 78 tackles for his first NFL campaign. Maybe not as dominant as I have seen in other rebuilds. Like, I've seen him consistently win Defensive Rookie of the Year, but I'm certainly not going to be sticking my nose up at that. Very happy with those numbers. Picks could certainly be better, though. But maybe with 170, 2 picks for Oren Burks could get him a dev trait. And for what he did for my Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl, I will let Oren Burks remain a thing for our linebacking core in this rebuild. Jamar Chase is runner-up to Patrick Mahomes for Offensive Player of the Year. And then we get Shamar Stewart within the top 5 for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Jamar Chase runs away with Wide Receiver of the Year, with T. Higgins coming in number 3. And for what it's worth, shout out to both Logan Wilson and Oren Burks making the top linebacker list. Put even more pressure on us going to the draft to fix the offensive line. Lucas Patrick, our starting right guard, has retired after 10 years, so makes it even more important that we can find an interior lineman this year. There might have been a chance, if this game wanted to be really harsh, for Joe Burrow to lose his X factor. Luckily, that is not the case. And I wasn't really expecting any other depth. Maybe T. Higgins could have gone up to X factor. I'm not going to get overly greedy on that front. But yeah, with the retirement here of Patrick, we definitely need a right guard. Am I going to select a guard at number 6? I mean, maybe there's a generational guy like a Quentin Nelson type. It could be worth it. But I certainly think tackle could be in play with Orlando Brown already regressing. Or on the defensive side, as we let Hendrickson walk, of course, he's gone and got an upgrade up to an X factor. That secondary pass rusher next to Shamar Stewart is going to be important. As far as dev traits are concerned on the defense, Hendrickson goes up dev trait, and we get Wilson to go up a dev trait from star to superstar, and Oren Burks goes up a dev trait from normal to a star. Now, our defense was so ass, I am going to fire our defensive coordinator just to see if maybe we can get a more veteran option. I feel like we probably aren't going to have a whole lot, but you never know. Wow. Maybe coaches will get fired as we go. But we'll just bring Ortega here for the time being. Kind of a cool Super Bowl that probably no one else outside of me wants to see is the Eagles and Chiefs run it back. Philly wins in an absolute shootout. Jalen Hurts, back-to-back Super Bowl MVPs. For our final opportunity to negotiate contracts, again, I think it's just for the sake of this rebuild and for how clearly good this team looks like it's going to be with Joe Burrow, we'll add the challenge. Again, just to reiterate, Trey Hendrickson absolutely could re-sign him. We're going to let him walk. Very fitting, he is far and away the best player in free agency. So as we get to the draft now, this is where we have to do all of our damage because we are very light in free agency. And our needs are offensive line. Now, I have fully scouted guards. That's where I want it. And look at what we have here. Evan Amell is a top 5 talent. Now the question is, do we get that top 5 talent, or do we also understand that we have UDFAs that are first, second rounders, which is like we got an insane, I don't even know, center, even center. A couple first, day 3, second, third rounder. At right guard, we have UDFAs first, second rounder, first, second rounder. So the question is, do you say screw it and get a guy that, if I see top 5 at guard, that tends to be an 80 plus. Or do we look elsewhere? I'm looking at tackle. Value at tackle. If I'm blind scouting tackles, I want to look for, can I get double Bs? Can I get an A and a B for run block and pass block? And look way down here. Third, fourth rounder, Stevie Cunningham of Arkansas has that B pass block, B run block. Second, third rounder. Now, second, third rounders tend to get, they can get overdrafted, but that looks pretty sick. Our next need would be pass rush. Finding someone that can come in and take over for the great Trey Hendrickson. And I mean, at least in this discussion, I think we look at the top tier guys. Because it's going to have to take, one of these, legitimate, like, who's going to be a realistic selection at number 6 for us to go get them. So I think it's going to be probably worth our time to scout the top pass rushers just to make sure. And I mean, none of them look incredible by any means, but A power and an A finesse move, we will certainly take a look. I'm more interested at that left tackle. So on our focus scouting, Townsend is a bust for a first rounder. Jimmy Sanchez at a North Dakota State looks legit. A finesse, C power, B tackle, 6'5", combine, pretty damn good. 40-yard dash, 3-cone shuttle. All what you want to see. Elite acceleration. I'm interested. And on the offensive line at tackle, we got a legitimate first rounder in Stevie Cunningham. Man, we got some decisions to be made. Let's see who's available at our pick, and then we'll make the decision. So I'm kind of glad Jimmy Sanchez, the pass rusher, went at 2. I, in no way, shape, or form, was going to trade up for a pass rusher, but if he was still available at 6, it'd get me thinking that, like, all those players are going to be available. I'm mapping it. Like, I'm going to be able to get that pass rusher in the first round. Yeah, we may give up the top 5 guard, but I'll get that pass rusher, then we'll go tackle, and then grab maybe 2 of those stud guards. But at this point in time, at pick 6, I'm thinking we just, the difference between a first, second rounder, like, that could be a 73 star. Good. Can win with that. Can develop with that. But we're not necessarily a team that's an all-out rebuild. We need win-now players. And Evan Amell as a legitimate top 5 talent, how good of a top 5? He could be number 1. We could be the number 1 player in the class. He could also be the number 5 player in the class. But he looks pretty good. I would have loved to see higher bench press. Great strength, not elite strength. But I think we got to trust the board here. And we will go, and I said we had to get maybe a Quentin Nelson type guard for me to want to invest a number 6 pick. I think Amell can be that guy. And he ends up being number 1 in true value in this whole class at pick 6. 90 strength. But I'm also going to be very optimistic that is maybe better than a star dev trade. Now they're sitting and waiting. The amount of times I've been sniped on really good players because I just say, they should be. They'll absolutely be there. So I'm going to give to move up, 3 spots in the second round. I'm going to throw in a future 4th, and I'm going to give Yoshivas, talented wide receiver to the Browns, to move up so we can grab that tackle. An awesome find here, Stevie Cunningham. Now, I hope he has a dev trait. What's his strength? I feel like he'd have, number 2 in bench press. I'm optimistic he'll have a dev trait, but very, very rare to find good tackles outside of the first round. The fact that he's, potentially a 3rd rounder. Number 6 in. Who wants to trade for Orlando Brown? And the 49ers actually kind of desperate for a time. I mean, it makes sense if Trent Williams retires. So we are going to be able to flip Orlando Brown and get a future. I couldn't get a current 3rd round pick, but I could get a future 3rd round pick, which basically offsets what we had to use to trade up with the Browns to get Cunningham. Now we're going to grab the slightest of the guards. Potentially might need to make a center at some point. And, a 300-pound guard in today's game's a little bit rare. Cole Wade, 42 in true value. That's 70. Ooh, no dev trait. If I had the blind pick pass rushers, I'm looking for athletes. And Drew Cantrell, kind of scared about the key ratings, but athletically speaking, it's not even close. He's the only guy that is in the stratosphere of being top 5 in the 40, the 3-cone, the 20-yard shuttle. His vert's not too bad. Bench press kind of sucks, but he's a speed pass rusher archetype. I think there's a chance he's a good player here for a blind pick. Top, hey, the value is in the ballpark. 75 in true value at 102. Damn, no dev trait, though. I'll say this point, clean the board with those really good guards. We get DeAnthony Cumberland, number 40 in true value at 134 with a dev trait. And with the last one here in Braxton Woodbury, 43 in true value at 166. And again, 6'3", 304 could be convert to the interior. Got to get younger than Ted Karras at center. So take a look at our draft recap. Ends up being a hell of a year to scout linemen. Woodbury, 74 dev trait. Cumberland, 74 dev trait. Cantrell, the pass rusher, no dev trait, but 72. And to get a day 3 edge rusher that's above a 70 overall. Very happy with that. Cole Wade, 74 normal. We get Cunningham, 78 with a dev trait. And Amell, the number 1 player in the class, 83 overall. So we said, maybe we didn't get like the best replacement for Trey Hendrickson, but that, in reality, that needs to be Shamar Stewart's job. But what we need to do is go to improve the offensive line. And that is exactly what we did. Protect Joe Burrow and make sure his jersey doesn't get a single grass stain on it in year 2. So as we begin year number 2, mission, protect Joe Burrow. And in doing so, I think we could put up a terrifying offense. Well, we got 3 new starters, 2 of them being 2 of the top players in the class. So maybe the positive of tanking year 1 of this rebuild with the Joe Burrow injury is we are able to fix the offensive line. Defensively, still a cause for concern. Need Shamar Stewart to take the next big step up and see if he can replace that production, that double-digit sack production that we lost with Hendrickson. Cantrell, the rookie, I'm going to give him the start at the edge just to see what he can do. Love to see more turnovers in the secondary for these players to continue to develop, but pretty much every DB is still, again, on the right side of 30 and almost 80 overall. So I'm expecting, at least on paper, that should be a defense that's in like the teens, not in the 30s, not in the high 20s. And I think if we get that compounded with just how good I think Burrow and this offense can be, I don't think we we need to be worrying about year 4 and year 5 of this year for this rebuild to go win a Super Bowl. I think it could be this year, could be next year, but I'm excited to see how Joe Burrow plays. Joe Burrow's back. Now, maybe a little bit longer. Took all the way to week 6 against the Saints, and we're 3-3. But we got the tough part of the schedule. We played the Steelers twice, played the Ravens twice. 4 of our first 6 games that's tough. But I think we had a great stretch of games for Joe Burrow to start racking up the players of the week. This is the next week. Hey, shout out Barrett Carter. Yep, he's heating up. 5 touchdowns. So we're at about midway point, 5-3 for the Bengals. I do not know. I have yet to take a sneak peek at the depth traits of our linemen. But we got, Amel, top 5 talent was, I think, still the right call, even though there was so much depth at guard to go get a guy that already 86 superstar depth. I thought maybe there was a chance Cunningham could be a superstar as well, but just a star depth there as well for him and Woodbury. But that's a stud. Let's go. So looking at some contracts. Got some money. Who wants to get paid? Looking at the rest of the team here. As far as gotta haves it's, I'm going to be and implement a little Canadian bias here, and I really want to keep Chase Brown. Even if the yards of production aren't there, we have decent salary cap space to offer him that deal. So we got Carroll here. I just found some UDFA cheese a little bit. I think we want to try to keep Turner. 4-year deal, done. I think we want to try to keep Battle. All those DBs. Now, Battle's not overly interested. So I think maybe we go with a player-friendly 4-year, 35.5. Gets it done. Actually, off the contracts, we beat the Raiders. We're going to 6-3. I was like, oh, here's another Joe Burrow. No, it's Jordan Battle after getting a new contract, playing with newfound confidence. 2 picks. So going to the bye week, we are absolutely smashing teams now. We get a second. This is the second time this has happened where Joe Burrow and Barrett Carter are getting offensive and defensive players of the week. 5 touchdowns for Joe Burrow. But the bad news is okay, I don't really care about the rush yards. That's a victim of our passing offense. I do care about the defense. 22nd in points per game. Now, usually these numbers go into our favor after the bye week. So let's see. Maybe this would be a more accurate reflection of where we are at statistically. It doesn't help a whole lot. We are 22nd points per game, 29th in pass yards against, 25th in rush yards against. That's all I can say. That is not great. Good news, we're playing a last place schedule. Like, we just ran through the Raiders, the Browns. Now we get the Jags, Panthers, Dolphins. Another player of the week for Joe Burrow. It's literally comical. He's got one. Let's see, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 players of the week and counting. So our win streak does end to the Falcons. We're able to bounce back, get a win over a playoff caliber team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go 13-4. And this prolific passing offense is good enough to not only win the AFC North, but to be the 1 seed. 1 win ahead of the Buffalo Bills, 13-4. Wow, the Jags at 7-10. That is trash from the AFC South. And in this big game to secure the 1 seed, who else but Joe Burrow? And with a quick snapshot here, Joe Burrow leads the league in passing yards. Maybe not touchdowns. I can see Michael Penix with 44. Jamar Chase, back-to-back years, leading the league, and that looks like a potential triple crown again for leading the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Joe Burrow first in yards, second in touchdowns. Only one pick. Fuck, what do you mean sacked 61 times? No, that's bullshit. Run game is what it is. Shout out Chase Brown for chipping in when he can. Look at that, 3,000. We get Jalen Coker off the scrap heap to come in and be wide receiver 3. He goes for 1,000. T. Higgins goes for 1,000, and Jamar Chase goes for 1,500 yards and 19 touchdowns. But what do you mean? Look at these sack numbers. Steve Cunningham, 20. These are some of the worst sack numbers that I've seen. And that's dog shit because my team's good. Our tackle numbers are fine. Barrett Carter had a breakout campaign. 124 tackles, 3 TFLs, 2 sacks, 4 picks. We get 13.5 sacks from Shamar Stewart, so we needing him to step up to take over for that Trey Henderson's role. He did that. He thrived in that role. Jenkins with another strong season, but outside of that, the pass rush severely lacking. Didn't get much out of the rookie Cantrell. Our interception numbers, Jordan Battle with 4 picks, still could be better for the talent that we do have. But my curiosity right now is sacks. Where does that rank amongst quarterbacks? I got to go see right now. NFL. The most! There's no way! With that, I guess I got rookies out there. There's no way with the talent that I have in that we should be getting any more than like 40 sacks. We should be middle of the mall at best. Not the worst in the league. Still through it all with only 1 interception and an immense amount of sacks allowed. Joe Burrow is still your NFL MVP. Jamar Chase wins Offensive Player of the Year. Joe Burrow is Quarterback of the Year. Jamar Chase, Wide Receiver of the Year. And for our first playoff game of the rebuild, we got ourselves a good one. A bitter divisional rival. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town. They bring a very good defense, top 5 defense. Do they have a chance in hell of stopping us passing the football? Well, it's going to have to be those 3 guys that do it. Watt, Highsmith, and Jalen Ramsey. So here we go at the Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. Not too sure about, like, you know, if there was home field advantage and stadium pulse like there is in college football. I don't know where Cincinnati would rank. But I'll tell you what, it's not going to take much to get these fans riled up. I'm ready to take this game over in a playoff game with the AFC Championship on the line against a 9-8 Steelers team that doesn't have a quarterback, and we got the MVP. Now, MVP in this offense with 3 points in the first half is, oh, here we go, get a little insta score. But still, I think from this advantage, even though we are winning, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers defense certainly getting one over on the Bengals' high-powered offense. We get a big shot there, 26 yards. Joe Burrow to T. Higgins on the 1, punch it in, up, big time, 14, and that should be enough. Turnover on downs. I would have been cool to run the score up there and get another one, just to continue to establish dominance. But it is a humbling performance where, you know, I would like to say, knowing how high-powered our offense was in the regular season, love to see us just beat the shit out of everybody and put up 40 points. But knowing that a game that can be ugly, we can, with our MVP quarterback, win. No touchdowns, no picks from Joe Burrow. What stepped up was the run game. Taj Brooks vultured one, but Chase Brown, 84 yards and a touchdown. The Canadian pops off. Outstanding job by the Steelers defense, really limiting T. Higgins and Jamar Chase in this matchup. Defensively, Shamar Stewart, Chris Jenkins, Cantrell are 3 kind of known pass rushers getting on the score sheet. Shout out Dax Hill for getting the turnover of the game. Chris Jenkins Jr. gets Defensive Player of the Week. And that rolls into a AFC Championship game very similar to what we just saw. This is a team that has, in the Denver Broncos, the #1 defense in the league, the #2 passing defense in the league. And I've said enough times that in my experience here in Madden 26 Sim, does tend to be the better defense that can win. But in our first full year of a healthy Joe Burrow with an offensive line that, even though the sacks are up there, should be an elite offensive line on paper. If they can show up and get hot here in the playoffs, he should be untouched. And I expect a better offensive performance than, zeros. Joe Burrow was out there getting cardio against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He needs to show up here and say, yes, I know the Broncos and Pat Surtain and all those guys are great defensively, but I'm the MVP for a reason. Let's flex our muscles a little bit, and let's make a freaking Super Bowl here in year 2. Back at Paycor Stadium. I mean, I like to think also, even though our defense is kind of forgotten, that we could stop Bo Nix. Like, that is not a necessarily scary Broncos offense by any means. You know, you got R.J. Harvey at running back, Cortland Sutton at wide receiver, Franklin at wide, a couple guys there. This, on paper, should be a win for us. Denver strikes first with a field goal. We're working our way downfield here. We go for it on 4th down. I love the aggressiveness, and that gets paid out with a full touchdown. 7-3. But it does look like another game, dude. This is a lot of punts, a lot of green when the Bengals touch the football. It is now a 10-point lead for the Denver Broncos, but we are marching. And then a turnover. No! This is not good. Dude, another one. Fuck off. We had one pick all year. Frauds! Joe Burrow is a fraud. He cannot win the big game. Unreal. How many? I feel like he had 2 picks here. One pick. So he tied, for as impressive, he tied his entire regular season with his pick. But at no point did the MVP play like an MVP in either one of these playoff games. Bo Nix did. Fucking embarrassing. Regular season quarterback. As far as retirements, we do lose a starter here in Oren Burks, but I think looking at how he played, Barrett Carter certainly can step up into that void. Look at our depth traits of the year 2. We get Chase Brown off normal. He's up to a star. That had to be due to his touchdowns because his yards weren't particularly great. Woodbury and Cunningham and Cumberland, the 3 rookies, with star devs, and Amel with the superstar. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm very surprised that Barrett Carter did not get a dev trait. He was kind of the one I was expecting. He loses superstar in Wilson. That's more so due to he's just at that age. Damn, man. No dev traits here on the defense. And if I'm going to look at the team, I'm going to be honest, clearly it was Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow is the combination of Colts quarterbacks. He's Andrew Luck from the standpoint of super talented, shit O-line injuries. Is it going to derail his career? It's still kind of a what if. And then he's also Peyton Manning before he won the Super Bowl, where it's just insane regular season numbers and nothing to show for it at the end of the year. So as we go to the offseason, positions of need. Tight end would be one. Maybe we can get one in the draft. Maybe we can get one in free agency. We have enough salary cap that we could make a splash. Defensively, we need an edge rusher. Maybe a successor at D-tackle to B.J. Hill. Again, I feel pretty good with Wilson, Knight, and Barrett Carter, who's up to an 81 with the boost, as our 3 linebackers. But could look at, if we're looking at who needs to get phased out, it could be Logan Wilson next up at linebacker. But I'm going to say tight end, edge, and D-tackle. And D-tackle's probably going to be pretty easy to just say that we're going to wait till the draft to find a D-tackle. So edge and tight end is where I want to get better. And a look at free agency. Edge and tight end. At tight end, we get... Ooh. That could do. I've been very impressed with what I've seen out of Tucker Kraft this year. So let's see here. We'll throw some money on Tucker Kraft. We are now the number 1 bid. At edge, what do we have? Travon Walker. Thibodeau. Throw an offer here on Thibodeau. Won't get into a pissing match. I think we got pretty reasonable offers for both these targets. Yes, thank you. Let's go. So we got to go in the draft. Still could go in, but I'd like to think that we can get Thibodeau, get him right, get his mind right on the other side of Shamar Stewart. We need a D-tackle and a linebacker. And those are more so, those guys might not even play. Maybe the D-tackle would if we can get a good enough one. Yeah. We're going to be a complete roster going into year 3. So for my 3 focus scouts, I'm going to go all on the D-tackle spot because I have edge rushers. I'm not going to say unfortunately, but I have edge rushers as, I got the information there. So I'm looking at Watford as a day 3. He has Afe, finesse move, C power move looks pretty good. Really much else there, so we might as well. And I don't love the nose tackle archetype here, but I suppose we will go Randall and we'll go Pace, and we'll see what we can figure out. Because I might as well show here the focus scouting that we have done. I mean, in case, we could always have more of a pass rush rotation. We got Schaefer here as a first-round talent. No steals, unfortunately, at pass rush. A couple day 3 picks. We have a legit first-rounder in Zach Billups. We have a fringe first-rounder. He could be in range and in play. 6'6", 271. Calvin Richards out of LSU. Deshaun Campbell, more of a D tackle than not. But we could draft him potentially if the D tackle market shrinks up and move him to defensive tackle right away. Same with Hobart. As far as the D tackle market goes, both Pace and Randall, first, second rounder, and we got absolutely baited on. Actually, no, Watford's the guy we did scout. Look at that, first, second rounder. Let's go. That'll be our guy. So I'm gonna be honest. We're kind of fucked from like a need standpoint because I think the best D tackle is gonna be the one that we can get late. We got Billups still, the top pass rusher on the board. As far as needs, I think linebacker would be like the next logical move. We do have a couple first rounders, 3 first rounders at will. We have any A-zone, A-man. Get A-zone. Potentially, all those guys look legit. Do we have any Sams that are first rounders? We do not. Okay. So we could blind pick a linebacker, but I honestly think, and then we have our D tackles here, I didn't think Billups was going to be available. A legit first-round pass rusher in case things don't work out and we can't get production. I mean, look at that. I'd be drafting that blind pick all day long. 4.57 pass rusher. Absolutely. Ends up being 21 in true value at pick 29. Fuck! That's why he slipped. Not going to overthink it. Get our guys. Damian Watford, D tackle. And what makes this one cool is it's not nose tackle cheese. Not like I just looked for like the 350 pounders. This was, A finesse move stuck out. C power move certainly stuck out. A tackle stuck out. Combine pretty damn good. 4.78 at 300 pounds. Bench press is on point. This is just a stud. No matter what way you cut it. 46 in true value at 61. Fuck. All normal devs. So looking at our draft recap, all normal devs. We did get a hidden dev here in Marcus Wilkinson. Shout out to CPU for helping me out on that one. But outside of that, my board got shut down after the edge rusher Alonzo, and even that didn't necessarily work out too much, as he was just more of one of those guys who could slide in defensive tackle. We got Niles Thomas, 72 normal dev, a running back, Watford, 74 normal, and Billups, 76 normal. Didn't really have my finger on the pulse of this draft. Of course, look at that great man, just generational guards. Would have been a good year. I mean, tight end was potentially needed. If we didn't sign Tucker Kraft, maybe we would have been able to, decipher that Troy Stevens was going to be a freaking generational type player. We would have been aggressive to go get him. But instead, we got Tucker Kraft, which I'm happy about, I think. So we're now in year 3, halfway, right out of the bye. We're 4-2. Our 91 rated offense playing like the 91 rated offense. First in points. First in pass yards. I mean, our rush yards is better, 13th. But I think that's just, if and when we win a Super Bowl, it's not going to be like last year's playoff run, I don't think. Where we barely put up any points, beat the Steelers, barely put up any points, lose in the next round. We need to win with offense. Our defense is not going to be able to play well enough. There's nothing I can do. This is what Cincinnati is. And for us to win a Super Bowl is going to have to be on our passing attack. It can't fall flat like it did last year. Now looking at contracts. Logan Wilson, that is a tough contract to hand out, to be honest with you. Gesicki, we have his, kind of successor in place. Definitely want to get Chris Jenkins here. So we'll get Chris Jenkins on a 3. He's been our second most reliable pass rusher. He's earned his contract. And Mims, this is an interesting one. Our sacks are dog shit. I mean, I'll offer him this deal. If not, I mean, I don't know, man. At some point, you got to start producing. You got to stop letting Joe Burrow get sacked 60 times. Now, at 9-6, we're not going to end up being the 1 seed, but I will say anytime you can play Kansas City in the sim and get a big-time win, you feel pretty good. We get a player of the week performance, and it is Turner, DJ Turner, with 2 picks on Mahomes. Let's go. That's what we need out of our secondary. So the end of year number 3, we defeat the Green Bay Packers 10-7. Clagging and banging. We're the 7 seeds, so we would have been able to maybe lose that game and still make the playoffs. But it would have been, I don't think we would have. So we are the last team in. We needed to win. And we beat the Packers, who are a very tough team to beat. It is on the back of Joe Burrow doing what Joe Burrow does best. But how do you fix this defense? I have talent. Again, look at the numbers. Joe Burrow. Yes. More importantly, Jamar Chase. What the fuck? 124 catches, 2,000 yards, 26 touchdowns. Records upon records upon records. And he's still getting sacked an insane amount of times. I mean, I have no idea how to fix this team, how to fix their deficiencies. Defensively, I mean, ass load of tackles. Sacks. Ooh, Watford, the rookie D tackle, led the team with 9 sacks, 8 from Thibodeau, 7 from Jenkins. I mean, we're just not getting. I've seen and looked and seen Shamar Stewart be much better in sim. I don't know what I'm doing differently. DJ Turner, shout out you with 6 picks. Interceptions look a little bit better. Joe Burrow runs away with MVP, even though it probably should have gone to Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase wins Offensive Player of the Year, as well as Wide Receiver of the Year. Of course, as soon as we decide not to pay Logan Wilson, he gets Linebacker of the Year. And DJ Turner, this one I'm excited about, because that should potentially propel him, especially with the 6 picks, has the production to get him from star up to a superstar dev. Let's shout out Jamar Chase here in 2027 for shattering the league single season records for both receiving yards and touchdown catches. And now we got to run the gauntlet. Couldn't handle business, couldn't get that first round bye in back-to-back years, so we had to start our playoff journey in the wild card round, going on the road against a very good defense in the Baltimore Ravens. And an offense that has a prolific player in Lamar Jackson. I have no idea what to expect. I mean, if our passing offense is on point, we can beat any team in the league. But what is our defense going to do? And I don't even want to say what is our defense. What is our passing offense going to do? It was this good last year, and I don't think we went over 20 points in either of our playoff games. Lose a shootout. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to lose, I'm already thinking we're going to lose. If we're going to lose, of course, because we throw a fucking pick on the opening drive, lose in a shootout. Lose because our offense is scoring so many points, maybe our defense is getting tired. We've yet to get a fucking point on the board, dude. It is so dumb. Most dominating offense in the NFL. And what does it matter? Look at this, kid. We're going. Punting from just surrender punt. Ball back. Honestly, at this point, I'm fucking hopping in. I'm sick of this shit. I'll see if we can get them to force OT. I mean, we got 4 verts. We got 2 turnovers. Of course we do. No timeouts remaining. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Oh, he almost caught that, Kraft. I don't know. Like, this is the most terrifying rebuild that you can do. Where it literally makes no sense. Like, I don't think... Oh! I don't think this is... I could have 99s on my defense. Would it matter? I could have 99s on my offensive line. Would it matter? Look, we go to overtime. Decent drive. We have to settle for a field goal. Oh, we win! Okay, yeah, maybe we'll put a little asterisk next to that because I hopped in. It's year 3. But I'll be hands off next game. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't feel like if I just let it sim, like, is this one of those things where like the super sim gives you a different experience where I was just simming game to game to game to game? Because I mean, the yards and stuff looks good, but if I didn't throw that touchdown pass, Joe Burrow would have like 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. That is at no point. That's half his regular season picks in one fucking playoff game. And life doesn't get any easier as we get the Buffalo Bills. We're getting the greatest hits of the AFC. This should be a shootout, right? Clearly, we're going to have 4 or 5 touchdowns each, right? This is a prove-it game. It's cool outside the... Is that something that came with the title update? We now have a Toyota Tundra product placement. But I don't believe my team can win the big game. I don't think we beat the Ravens if I'm not helping them, throwing them a bone, and putting them in the backpack and carrying them to that win. This will be a test. Because Buffalo's going to score a lot of points. We should also score a lot of points. There we go, getting stalled out. Had to settle for a field goal. 50-some fucking touchdowns. Stalling out for field goals. What are we doing here? Punts. What are we doing? Punts again. What are we doing? Down 3. 3 minutes. Joe Burrow legacy drive. Oh, he gets the touchdown. Oh, okay. You just gotta shit talk him a little bit. Let's go. Back-to-back AFC Championship games. McDermott likely fired. Joe Burrow puts the nail in that coffin. Okay. Put up or shut up time. I mean, it's my brain gets a little fuzzy. But if I'm going to compare Joe Burrow to like Colts Peyton Manning, where he was always good in the regular season, and then obviously he finally figured it out. Like, how old was he? Was he like, I feel like he was older than Joe Burrow, longer than year 7? Or is this around the time that Peyton Manning started to put together some postseason success? But that's still relatively an ugly game. Especially on the completion percentage. That's a lot lower than what he's put up all year. But 2 touchdowns, no picks. Ain't going to complain too much about that. Jamar Chase goes nuclear. 8 catches, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defensively, they might as well not even have shown up. No one did anything. What? Super Bowl on the line. We get the Pittsburgh Steelers. Old school. They're back. They've got their identity back. Run the football with a top 5 rushing offense. Number 1 defense in the NFL. We're going to need Joe Burrow. But, I mean, we beat the Steelers last year in the playoffs. It was ugly. What was it, like 17-3? So it's doable. And this would be a brutal L to take. Don't want to lose to a divisional rival. So here we go. We got to continue to be the Road Warriors. What a rush. We need 90-99 Sonny to run out with the Bengals here for us to have a chance now. I mean, I'm pretty close to confirming that this is the Bengals are a cursed team. Like, there is no rhyme or reason for us to average like 375 yards passing and shattering records in the regular season for the playoffs to be this abysmal, other than the fact that it's just a cursed team. Like, their defense is always going to be bottom. Their team's always going to give up sacks. And like, even right now, like, I don't know. We have a lead. We need a touchdown here. We settle for a field goal. So the door is wide open for them to score a touchdown and to get a lead. We win. And we gotta be Eagles fans right now, everybody. It's hard because it makes no sense. But it doesn't matter if Joe Burrow throws for 150 yards less than he does in the regular season. Doesn't matter that his completion percentage has been like 20 points lower than it's been all season. That is still a pretty good game. I can't necessarily nitpick. It's not backing up my point. But like that, like, it's just, are we buying into it being it's playoff football? It's a different type of football. Or are we buying into, I guarantee that, if I don't win this year, there's still a chance. Like, this could be a team that will always shatter records and have the number 1 offense and maybe even be the 1 seed consistently because of that offense. But once it comes to playoff time, that shit defense and the fact that our just offense feels nerfed, I think that's a Bengals issue. This might be a cursed team to rebuild and play in Madden 26 franchise mode. And the Super Bowl has been set. We draw the 10-7 Philadelphia Eagles, who are top 10 offensively and defensively. They run the football as good as any team in the world. And they have studs at all levels. But we have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Philadelphia doesn't. So we got the Super Bowl here, year 3. Still technically plenty of time. You'd love to think with a historic record-breaking offense, those two guys would be incredible. But it's the Eagles. I'd say the Eagles and the Packers are probably the two teams that if you do run into them in the playoffs, it's not the end of the world if you can't beat them. They tend to be the best two teams consistently in franchise. But when you have a record-shattering passing offense with Joe Burrow, with Jamar Chase, you'd like to think that maybe you got a chance. And there we go. We get the first score. I love that. Defense got 2 stops already. That's shocking. And then we go up 2 scores. Defense can't keep a clean sheet there for the first half. But look, we're able to get more points, up 10. An opening drive of the second half. I mean, that's honestly, just keep scoring points. I won't be pissed that there's 2 straight field goals and we've stalled out. It's frustrating, but there we go. 19 yards. Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase to the 13-yard line. And that's looking, we can still fuck this up. 2:56 to go. We get for... Yes! I'm so happy we got this because this is a cursed team. I want nothing, like when I do my run through again, when we get the realistic classes ready, which I'm probably going to ask this week where the hell those are at to the modder guys. I am not looking forward to rebuilding the Bengals. This is a cursed team. This is a team that feels like it is what it is. They're always going to be big passing numbers. Obviously, yes, we saw with Jake Browning at the start that it certainly helps having a Joe Burrow out there. But assuming you have like injuries off and you have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, this is always going to be a team that is going to light up the scoreboard through the air. But it feels like no matter what type of investment I made, I did the right thing. I gave Joe Burrow maybe the best offensive line in the league, if not the best offensive line in the AFC, still gets sacked top 3 amount of times. Right? We go on the defensive side of the ball across the board. No weakness. Still 32nd. Like, it just felt like a team that no matter what you did, the Bengals were going to be the Bengals in a way. And, sometimes your offense would carry you. We're able to get that Super Bowl here. But I think this just could have easily been, as Jermaine Burton might be Super Bowl, 2 touchdowns for Chase. Insane game from Jermaine Burton. Defensively, we did get the sack there from Logan Wilson, a pick from Jordan Battle, which is very un-Jalen Hurts of him to throw a turnover like that in a big moment. This just feels like the most RNG team going that I've rebuilt so far, where it felt like regardless of the talent, they kind of were what they were. And I didn't see necessarily, I think the fair thing to say is I think we had a very good defense. We improved the defense. Nothing changed. I think the offensive line, outstanding. We get a superstar. We get 2 top 5 talents on the offensive line from the tank year, I guess we'll call it, year 1. Did it make a difference for how Joe Burrow gets... Because, in my mind, realistically, how do you help Joe Burrow? You got to help that offensive line. That should be a top priority. Offensive line and getting defensive rookie starters on those cheap contracts. That is how you map out a Bengals rebuild to get them to win a Super Bowl. I feel like I did that, and it still didn't really change anything. So as we always like to do when we win a Super Bowl and get a successful rebuild, like look at the player stats. Joe Burrow just under 32,000 yards passing, 240 touchdowns, 54 picks. He has 2 MVPs? 3 MVPs? 3? Yeah, he has 1 in real life and then 2 in this rebuild. Incredible. Probably one of the best sim quarterbacks, if not the best sim quarterback in Madden 26. Great offense, great scheme. Chase Brown complimentary, but still was productive. Got him to go up a dev trait, 3,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Receiving, Jamar Chase, the record breaker, is an absolute cheat code in Madden 26. 740 catches, 10,000 yards, and 103 touchdowns. T. Higgins, not too shabby, right behind him We've been able to facilitate 2,000-yard receivers every year in this rebuild, 8,200 yards, and 58 touchdowns. Defensively, we have Logan Wilson, just under 1,000 total tackles. We got 33.5 sacks, BJ Hill, 29 from Thibodeau. Chris Jenkins, 26.5, 25.5 from Stewart. He was probably the most disappointing player of this rebuild because I've seen from other rebuilds where I just kind of pay attention to maybe what the Bengals are doing. Shamar Stewart tends to be very good. I don't know, maybe with the title update, they've kind of patched the sacks a little bit because Madden sim numbers on the sack standpoint here in Madden 26 franchise, you know, you've had multiple players kind of break the sack record every year. Maybe they went out and adjusted that, and this is kind of like the new sack total. But I've definitely seen Shamar Stewart be double-digit sack getter very reliably, and we just couldn't get that out of him here today in this rebuild. Interception numbers were solid as well across the board. So there you go, fellas. That is your Madden 26 Cincinnati Bengals rebuild. We will eventually get back here with a realistic rebuild, but I think with the Joe Burrow news, maybe Bengal fans that watch my stuff need a little bit of pick-me-up this week. And I showed you that, hey, maybe, just maybe, if things don't go well with Browning and Burrow can't come back in December and save your season, take that top pick, fix the offensive line, which is exactly what we did. Like, the blueprint that we followed in this should be the blueprint they follow in real life. Dumps the dead weight, get younger on the offensive line, right? You know, stop spending money on all skill position players. Get a little bit better on the defense. Pretty sick that we got all three superstars. Stone's now a superstar. Cam Taylor-Britt now a superstar. DJ Turner now a superstar. We got Chris Jenkins. Don't give up on him. Give an opportunity. He'll make plays. Barrett Carter can make a lot of plays in this defense. But I still, like, my lasting memory of this rebuild is this is a cursed team. And be prepared that if you watch this, you go, you know what? Actually, I think I want to do a Bengals rebuild. Be prepared for just random things that don't make sense to happen. On top of obviously, the incredible upside of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. But with that being said, fellas, if it is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section down below what team you want to see rebuilt next. If you want to help out the channel, all I ask for in return is to help these videos with the YouTube robots and algorithms. Even just comment and like for the algorithm is very much appreciated. We will be back, I think tomorrow will be episode 2 of our North Carolina College Football 26 rebuild. And what's that? Today's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday, and then Friday. You know what's coming Friday? Vegas Raiders off-season stream. I think the time's going to be between 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And it's going to be a good time. It's going to be an all-time. We have an all-time off-season stream from the first one that we have to compete against. I think this one will be even better, so come check it out. Come hang out. And if you can't make it on Friday, I will have kind of a cut-up version of the off-season. That will go live on the channel at some point on the weekend. So I got you guys covered there. But that'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out, love ya. Have a good one.